So I've kind of struggled the last couple of weeks, especially with Euro USD, just because of all of the volatile sort of nature coming out in terms of tariffs with America, potentially affecting the UK, the Eurozone as well. So, however, when it comes to money and trading, it's a completely different ballgame. Whilst I could try and implement some of the strategies that I've learned in my time, like keep yourself grounded, keeping calm, that sort of thing. I don't think arrogant is the right word, but if it works, it works. And for me, it works. Now, there are multiple different things in the industry that will work. Just because somebody uses an indicator and somebody that doesn't mean that their strategy is less valid than somebody who just uses naked price action.
Welcome back to another Alpha Capital Group Traders interview, where today you are joining me in the Alpha Capital Group headquarters here in Newcastle. Today I'm joined by a six-figure funder trader who has received thousands of dollars in payouts. Who are you and where are you from?
So my name is Jonathan and I'm from South Wales.
It's great to have you here today, Jonathan. How long have you been trading?
So I've been trading for around about 2 years. Overall, the first year obviously doesn't go that well, as you can probably imagine, but yeah, sort of.
We've all been there, mate. We've all been there.
Exactly. It's just getting to the profitability stage, which is most important.
Absolutely. So how much you actually funded with us? And I always said you're a six-figure funder trader. What does that number look like?
So it's 100K in funding with you guys at the moment, which is absolutely awesome. Looking to grow that capital as well.
Absolutely amazing, mate. What an achievement. So what is your overall earnings with Alpha Capital so far?
So around about the 6% mark as it currently stands, which is phenomenal. It's a good bit of money to, do what you want with essentially and put to the side if you need to.
Definitely, mate. Such a great achievement to have, especially if you're only a few years into this journey. A lot of people don't see a payout for many, many years. And some people don't even see a payout, or a lot of people give up before they actually achieve that goal. So a massive well done to you, mate. So moving forward then, what assets do you actually trade?
So essentially, in terms of assets that I trade, asset classes, it's just predominantly Forex. So Euro USD, GBP USD, and sometimes pound yen, but a push just because it's a bit wicky and a bit volatile for my liking. But predominantly Euro USD and GBP USD, but they're pretty much the same thing. It just depends if one day one kind of setup favors my strategy than the other, really.
I find that really interesting. You trade multiple different pairs. So doing that, do you find that it gets a bit more difficult when trading, trying to manage different pairs at one time?
It can be, yes. Now, for example, Euro USD, as it currently stands, just a dollar cross pair. There's a lot of news going on at the moment, especially with Mr. Trump as it currently stands. So it's making things quite difficult to get some good entries. You kind of need to be up to date with kind of what the market is doing. So it can be quite tricky just trading that asset class. But at the same time, that's why I'm kind of broadening my horizons to look at GJ at the same time, just to see if I can make my strategy work with that particular pair.
No, that's really good. So when stuff gets a bit choppy on one pair, you can always switch to another one.
Exactly that. So I've kind of struggled the last couple of weeks, especially with Euro USD, just because of all of the volatile sort of nature coming out in terms of tariffs with America, potentially affecting the UK, the Eurozone as well. So in regards to that, it can be quite difficult and choppy if you just trade in one pair, really.
No, that makes complete sense. Personally, I trade one pair myself. I couldn't physically manage to look across different pairs. It would really ruin my psychology. But I suppose for you, this works really well.
Yes, it's spot on. I've tried to trade multiple pairs in the past and had watch lists which are around about sort of 6 pairs deep. And it gets to a point where you can put all the lines on a chart that you want, but over time, it just gets a little bit overwhelming. It's nice to be able to focus on one pair, you know exactly how it moves, how it reacts to certain things. And you can kind of be an expert in that particular field.
So Jonathan, I want to see the strategy that is making you thousands of dollars with 6 figures of funding. Do you care to show us your strategy today?
Of course I can, not a problem at all. So let me just share my screen for you. So let's get onto the charts. So here we have Euro USD. This is before London opens. So I particularly like to trade the London session. Doesn't mean to say that this strategy doesn't particularly work with, say, New York session, for example. I personally wouldn't be trading the Asian session just because I like my sleep, I'll be honest with you. But let's have a look. So this is pre-London session. So as you can see here, we've got some squiggly lines on the go. Now, you price action traders may not like all of this, but hey ho, what works works. So this is pre-London. So we'll just fast forward a few bars. So there's London open. Now, personally for me and my strategy, the first port of call is this line here. Now this gives me my bias for that particular session. Now, as you can see here, it's kind of flatlined. It's gone a little bit sideways. So what I want to see is either this zone here get broken, come up, come back down, and we go back up again. That's essentially what I want to see. In a nutshell, it's break and retest. So break and retest has been around since forever. Now, I just trade it on the lower time frames. As you can see in this particular instance, it's the 5-minute chart. So let's fast forward it on just a few bars just to see what happens. So we've bumped back into this resistance zone, which is fine, no dramas whatsoever. We can see we've had a little bit of a reaction from there, but this line, I'll just zoom in for you, it's just started to turn green. So we're potentially looking for buys at this stage if we can clear this zone. So as we potentially push up, there we go. So now we've pushed. We've already hit my entry, so I'll just show you exactly what I would do. We have here this zone, and what I like to do is find 50% of it. I mark up my 50% range. Then what I look to do is get my long position, which will be there, and we'd be tagged in at this stage. Now, in terms of a stop loss, the way in which I do it is by measuring this particular zone. Now, this zone is 4.6 pips in size. Because of that 4.6 pips, I multiply that by a factor of 2, just to give myself a nice sort of stop loss and a safe stop loss. So in terms of that, I'm going to round it up to 5. We'll look at 10 pips. So there's 10 pips there. Now, in terms of what price has already done, if we look back a little bit, it's come down, it's pushed past the zone. You could potentially call this a liquidity sweep. You could call it whatever you want. It pushed up, come back down to test this area again, come back up, and I want it to test this area and go again. Just price bouncing up and down, all the way up. Now, let's see what happens. In terms of a risk to reward ratio, I tend to look for a 1-to-2, just playing probabilities, playing percentages, and essentially win rate. So overall, if you stick to the strategy, you will come up profitable. So let's just fast forward this a few bars. I want to see a nice reaction away from this zone, which we're getting, which is fantastic. What I like to do is once I've hit 1%, I like to go break even. So risk is off the table. Some people may say that's wrong. Some people sometimes say it's not so smart. It depends who you are. But I like to get risk off the table 100%.
Absolutely. No, I agree with that.
100%. I essentially don't like to have that risk on the table and potentially a trade go and say from 1.5%, 2%, all the way down to my stop loss, because that should never happen. You shouldn't be doing that. So let's just see how we react. So we're bumping into this resistance zone here, which I'd be getting a little bit I'd like to see what's going on when we get here. Now, we've just mitigated it completely and we've pushed through. Now you can see there, that's a 1-to-2. You can't sniff at that opportunity. However, one thing that I have been trying to improve on lately is letting my winners run. Now, it's a massive thing within the industry to let your winners run and cut your losses short, which makes complete sense. That's why we use stop losses, and that's why we need to be safe within the industry. Now, for me, trying to let this trade run involves one more indicator, which is a few more squiggly lines. But if it works, it works. And if it works for you, it works for you. The way in which I would allow this trade to run is put this way up in the distance. And I'll just fast forward this through and I'll show you when I would get out and why. So this line where it's being mitigated and it's crossed through, that's where I get out. Because it's gone up all the way. We've gone in nice uptrend, 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 uptrend. Price has broken through this line, which is the ATR. And then that will be me out. So rather than say a 1-to-2, which would have been there, it's a 2.7. Now the little wins and those incremental wins will compound over time. So whereas it was just a 1-to-2 initially, it's now a 1 to 2.7. So that extra $700, say on a 100K account, that will eventually compound over time. So if you're able to do that and let those winners run, happy days. So that's just one particular example. What I'll do is just show you one more. So this was on Wednesday. Now, if I remember rightly, Friday was a very, very good trade. I just let price action do its thing whilst I ramble away.
So I have to ask you, Jonathan, a lot of people have their own opinion when it comes to indicators. Me personally, I like to use them as well. I like trading with indicators. I think they're a very useful tool. However, a lot of traders are very against them, and they say they don't work, they play off of past price action and they can't predict what the next move. What would your argument be on this?
Without coming across as, I guess, I don't think arrogant is the right word, but if it works, it works. And for me, it works. Now, there are multiple different things in the industry that will work. Just because somebody uses an indicator and somebody that doesn't mean that their strategy is less valid than somebody who just uses naked price action. I initially learned within the industry just on naked charts. That's all I sort of learned my craft with. However, the indicators apparently show lag in price action, which is fine. That's not a problem in any way, shape or form. But I do believe that they have their place. And if you can find a true and tested method, then that's fine.
No, absolutely. I definitely agree with you on that. I mean, I've been using indicators a long time and I've definitely got a lot of stick for it. However, it comes back to that simple saying you were just saying there. If it works for you, it works.
I'll be honest with you, right? In terms of the indicators, for me, it's just an easier way to visualize things of what's going on. Now, for example, we could take the indicator off completely and just have the price action here. Now, if we were going to do a break and retest strategy, I'd be looking at this zone to get tapped and to go again. That's essentially what I'm looking for. It's just the indicator shows it for me, which when I'm looking at the chart, it's just easier to visualize. I know exactly what I'm looking for, and it's just, that's it, we're done. It's game on at that stage. So with the indicator back on, I'll show you both scenarios. So here's it. Here's the chart with the indicator. And for example, if we were to do the same application for a trade, we've got the 50% zone here. It's being tagged, which is fantastic. And we'll look for the long trade. Long trade is there. We'll measure the zone here. And it's about 6 pips. So we'll go 12 pip stop loss. There or thereabouts. And we'll look for that 1 to 2, like we said originally. And we'll just see what happens. And there you go. There's the 1 to 2.
Amazing. Really good.
And then essentially what you're looking for again is when this smaller green line gets crossed, we're out of the trade.
Wow.
And we've literally rocketed at this stage, which is exactly what we want. And we want to let our winners run. Now, I'll be completely honest with you. When you're at the funded stage and when you're profitable, just because you're profitable, it doesn't mean that that's it. Game is complete. That is far from the truth. I mean, if I was running 5% profit here, and this line hadn't been broken, I can bet you my bottom dollar that I would be wanting to close out on NT5 as quick as I possibly could, just simply because that's a lot of money to have in your back pocket. So,
of course,
it's
just about it's about being smart and not being greedy, isn't it? So, obviously, fear and greed are the two things we see a lot in trading, where they really get traders they really stop traders from progressing. So it's just not about being stupid. And like you said, if you're seeing a lot of profit floating there and you're not taking it, you are really gambling with it at that point, are you?
And that's the thing. There's nothing to say that there could have been just one massive candle that dropped and just tagged you out for a break even. And that's not what really you want to be doing with the industry. You want to be taking profits. So for example, I'd be honest with you, if I'd hit say 1 to 4, I'd be looking to get out of the trade. I think that is my limit as it currently stands. But I mean, for all intents and purposes, if I was to stick to the strategy 100% there, you'd be looking at 3.45. Now, you could look to take partials along the way if you really wanted to do that, and that kind of fits your personality a little bit better. I think for me, that would be that, and I would be out. No questions asked. But whilst I've shown you two examples of a trade that worked out, I kind of want sort of traders that watch this to realize that not everything works out. You could have the best setup in the world and it'll still fail. It's just probabilities at the end of the day. It's nothing personal. You get better at taking losses as you go. However, I'm still at the stage where I hate losing. I hate being wrong, but I know that I have to stick to that strategy to have the best chance of success. Now, that's the thing that I remind myself day in, day out, day in, day out. If I stick to that plan, I'll be successful. And that's all that it comes down to.
Spot on, mate. And I must say, you've got a very good strategy there. And you can see your wins are pretty huge. The risk to reward is quite impressive. So I've got to ask you, mate, how did you find this edge?
I'll be honest with you, the reason I found the edge was when I first came into trading was just standard support and resistance. Now, as we all know, if support and resistance worked all the time, everybody would be billionaires and we wouldn't be doing this podcast, would we? Yeah. But when it comes to support and resistance, it doesn't always work. So in this particular instance, they get broken. I'd like to see the other side get retested and then go. Reason I came across that, I'll be completely honest, was I found a YouTube video one day. I thought, oh, that break and retest, that seems logical. That seems, like it's got a lot of sense behind it. So I just looked into it a little bit further. Now, the entry criteria is something I've come up with. The profit taking is something I've come up with. So I've taken break and retest, put my own little spin on it to fit me and my personality, and just sort of run with it really after that. So like I said, I'm on the lower time frames just because that fits me as a person. I'll be honest with you, I'm shocking when it comes to swing trading. I can't do it to save my life. However, there's instances whereby swing trading, break and retest completely and utterly works. So this is a 4-hour time frame, for example, quite sort of choppy. But for example, there was a fantastic trade, if I remember rightly, around about, can I actually remember? I think it was around about just after Christmas time. So we're at January there. Just see if I can dig it out for you, actually, just to give some of the viewers a bit of an idea, kind of, let's say, sort of this swing strategy element. So let's just get rid of that there. So here we have, where are we? So for example, if you wanted to take this one here, you can see prices broken down here, messed around a little bit, broken down, come back up and tested it. So obviously stop losses are going to be a lot bigger on, say, the 4-hour time frame of which we're on currently. So there we have our 50% of the zone. Short position, we'll take a short here. We'll just measure the zone as well. And we're at 32-ish pips. So we'll go 64 pips in terms of a stop loss. So stop loss, there's 63.9 for argument's sake. And then we said for 1 to 2. So there's the 1 to 2. And you can just let this run in the best way possible. However, holding over weekends at the moment is very, very dicey. And as you can see here, we've had a nice, decent gap straight down. Again, Trump and the tariffs, which has not really provided much.
That man can move the market with a tweet at the minute. It's pretty crazy, isn't it?
You certainly can. So I'd just like to show you that obviously break and retest has stood the test of time, and you can do it on the lower time frames, you can do it on the higher time frames, and it's just whatever suits you and suits your personality, really.
Well, great. That's some great advice for anyone trying to figure out what their edge is and find their strategy. But for anyone who's looking at your strategy and thinking, this looks really good and it looks like it'd suit me really well, would you care to show us what indicators you're actually using?
Of course, yeah, it's not a problem at all. So these are the indicators that I use here. So this one is just sessions. So where you can see these gray boxes, those gray boxes essentially just show me the session. And realistically, I should just have London session on there, but I'd like to see New York as well, just to see what's going on. The next one is just support and resistance, which highlights these boxes for me. Once those boxes are drawn, then I know my support and resistance zones. For example, if we were to take them off, it's not the end of the world. I could mark on support and resistance zones just without them. But like I said earlier on, I like to have them. It's quick, it's easy. And when I've looked at those zones previously, it kind of lines up what I would draw anyway. So it's very, very handy. The third one is trend indicator, which is just a 100 EMA, just to give me directional bias for when I'm looking to trade. And that is literally it. And then the last one is kind of something that I'm trying with letting my winners run, which is an ATR trailing stop loss. And that is literally it. That's all I have on the chart. It looks quite messy, looks a bit sort of all over the place, but if it works, it works.
So for anyone watching who is wanting to trade Jonathan's strategy, there you have it. You have all the tools there. He's even giving you a brilliant breakdown of it. So go ahead and tell us how you do using this strategy. So what is your story? What was life like before trading?
So life before trading, interestingly, I used to be in the emergency services. So when I was in the emergency services in 2023, I came across trading. I'd always known about trading. I kind of knew about it anyway, but I saw the likes of prop firms were coming sort of more prevalent within the industry at the time. So it was a case of seeing that and understanding that I could capitalize myself a lot better than what I could just through savings, for example. So life was quite sort of hectic within the emergency services. So being able to trade
Yeah.
and learning to trade as well was pretty difficult. I'd come off the back of doing 14, 15-hour shift, come home, do some learning with an education provider, and just rinse and repeat. It was a case of, I've got to make this work, because within the emergency services, it's not a career that people tend to see out for a long period of time these days for reasons that people see in sort of the news, for example. But yeah, it was quite hectic. It was something that I was pretty driven to do and pretty driven to make work, really.
Amazing. So if you don't mind me asking, Jonathan, what emergency services were you part of?
So I was the boys in blue.
Oh, really?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, amazing. So you've been in a lot of anxious situations then. So trading must be quite, do you think that helped you trading a little bit?
I've always had what I class as sort of a calm demeanor in terms of how I go about things, and especially how I conducted myself in the emergency services. So when it came to trading, don't get me wrong, there are some parallels. However, when it comes to money and trading, it's a completely different ballgame. Whilst I could try and implement some of the strategies that I learned in my time, like keep yourself grounded, keeping calm, that sort of thing,
Yeah.
it's completely alien to what humans are sort of wired to do upstairs mentally. So when they see that money, they want to take it, they want to grab it. When they're losing, they think they're not going to lose. You know, it's adding to losing positions, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's quite tricky to adapt to.
So how did you go from being in the emergency services to then discovering the foreign exchange market and then thinking, I want to go and learn this?
Well, interestingly, back in 2014, way back when, I remember watching a documentary on BBC, which showed traders, retail traders specifically, and showing them making profits and what it took to be a trader. I thought, I have to do this. This looks phenomenal. And ever since then, I'd always had a bit of an interest in the markets. But in 2014, I remember downloading, I think it was Trading 212 or Plus 500, one of those apps on your phone. And I remember opening a demo account. I think it was potentially gold or a stock that I put a massive lot size on. Thought I was the best thing in the world. Woke up the next day and I was down something like 60, 70K. And I thought, what am I supposed to do? Like, I don't quite understand. Then I did the logical thing back in 2014, went on to Baby Pips, tried to do a little bit of research there, but didn't quite make any headway. Didn't know where to go after that. Hence, when it came to 2023, saw prop firms were kind of a thing and just went all in. That was it.
When you saw that loss on that demo account of minus $60,000 or around that, did that also make you think, well, if this is how much I can lose, how much can I make?
Yes, to a degree. I've always had a good risk appetite. I don't mind taking a risk. It's completely and utterly fine. That's how you progress in life sometimes. But it was a bit of a wake-up call to think, if I can win big. But also, if I can lose, I can also lose big. So it's about being sensible. It's about being careful and make sure you're doing things properly.
Amazing. So today, are you a full-time or a part-time trader?
Currently part-time trader with the full ambition of being full-time. That is something on the horizon, definitely.
So what is your why? Why do you want this so bad?
God, it's quite interesting you say that, actually, because just stand by, bear with me. When I trade, so every single day when I get up, I write in this diary. So the greatest manifestation book is the one written by you. And that is it. Now, a lot of the time, manifestation has a little bit of a kind of a bad, what I'd say, negative connotation. It's a bit airy-fairy, artsy, there's no kind of background to it. The way I look at it is I'm reaffirming to myself every single day my why and burying that deep into my subconscious to know that every time I'm about to press that buy or sell button, it is for the right reason. Yeah. So for example, my why is essentially making sure that my family can live the best life they possibly can and have all the opportunities that I potentially didn't have growing up, and they can have those. That is why I do it. I'll be honest with you, in terms of the material side of things, I want a nice big house and a nice big garden where my dogs can just run wild. That would be happiness for me, just to see them just crack on.
Well, if I'm honest, that's an absolutely beautiful reason to why you want this so much, mate. And here at Alpha Capital Group, we're glad that we're able to give you this opportunity to go and get that dream of yours, because, you know, that is why you're doing this, and we want to help you get there. That's amazing. So what are some of the struggles you face along the way in your trading journey?
So in terms of the struggles, the biggest one for me was not being able to take a loss. It's the massive, absolutely massive, because I remember in the early days, I remember learning the strategy online. Learned it, I thought, yeah, I'm done now, completed it. I further from the truth. I remember taking a loss, and then straight after that loss, I think I put a buy position on. It didn't work, so I just thought, okay, I'll just sell. It'll work. Didn't work.
Typical beginner's errors, man.
Just sell. I remember hitting, I think it was like the daily drawdown on a challenge that I was doing. I just thought to myself, what did I just do? Literally, in a split second, I completely lost it. I thought, where did the composure go? And it all comes back to this upstairs. And now one thing that really, really helped me was this book. I don't want to keep harping on to books all the time and just making out that there's some sort of magical tool. They're great sources of information, but you have to apply them. You have to be able to take the lessons on board, do some of the activities that these books say, because honestly, game changer. Now for me, this old puppy, Chimp Paradox. I tell you what I should have is an affiliate link or something, because I make a killing. But yeah, in all honesty, the Chimp Paradox is absolutely fantastic. We're wired like we were 50,000 years ago. We still have that very primal brain and primal drive in us. Now, that book will allow you to identify those moments when they're about to happen and what you can do to overcome them. The chimp part of your brain is very, very powerful, and it's learning to live with it and to be able to overcome it on a daily basis. Now, if you can do that, you're laughing.
No, some great advice, and I definitely agree with the reading side of things. You know, it's always good to educate yourself as much as you can, and if you can do that through books, then why not?
Yeah, it's quite interesting. I never used to be much of a reader at all, but I had to put things in place to enable myself to become a better trader. It's as simple as that.
I agree with you 100%. So overall, what would you say your biggest achievement so far in trading has been?
Biggest achievement? That's a good one. I mean, becoming profitable and being able to manage my own mind is the biggest achievement in itself. Now, anybody can get on the right side of the market on a few trades. That's fine. It's just luck sometimes, you know, you have one of those things. But if you can stick to the strategy consistently and sort of get yourself a prop firm account and you do it the right way, then that is something to be very, very proud of.
No, definitely. Yeah, everyone can reach a payout by some point in the journey. And sometimes people can get to the payout stage purely by luck. But like you said, if you can stick to your rules every single day and stay disciplined, that is the biggest achievement, because that shows long-term profitability.
Exactly that. You know, I'll be completely honest with you. I was funded in the past, and it was a great achievement to have. I unfortunately lost that account, but I built myself back up in the right way, in the correct way, to be able to then pass another account. And that kind of felt a little bit better than the first one, actually, because I had to overcome a lot of psychological hurdles in terms of doubt, self-doubt as well, actually. Just thinking, did I fluke it last time? Did I not? It's just a case of sticking to that.
I relate to you so much on that, man, because we've all been there, and you do think, is the first one a fluke? When you start hitting a few hurdles and you think, am I even doing this right? Is this working? Is it a fluke, like you say? And then you do it again and you think, no, I've got something. I just need to fine tune where I'm going wrong. I agree with you on that one, definitely. So overall, what has your experience been like with Alpha Capital Group UK?
I'll be honest with you, I cannot rate you less than sort of excellent in terms of everything that I've had in terms of queries, requests, emails. You're even available sometimes on WhatsApp, which is second. And then if you need a little bit of information quickly, it's there and available. Not saying that's going to be available to everybody all of the time, but in terms of emails, for example, they're always responded to super, super quick. And in terms of waiting for payouts and things like that, again, super quick process. Nothing you need to worry about in that regard.
Thank you so much. And it's good to hear that you're having an amazing experience with us. Why did you choose Alpha Capital Group?
So I chose Alpha Capital Group because I saw a lot of YouTube videos, for example, a lot of the content with some of the senior guys within the company, and just seeing how they interact with one another, what they wanted to put in place for traders. I think the original slogan or tagline was built for traders or something along those lines.
Traders, yeah.
Built for traders, exactly. And is literally that. It is built for traders. Some of the best execution I've ever had in the market. So yeah, I literally cannot fault you. And some of the content that you guys put online, pretty funny, pretty good. And it's quite relatable as well, especially the stuff with Planty when he answers a lot of beginner questions online. I think it's fantastic. There's a lot of information online. Exactly.
He's great. No, he's a great guy. So how have you found the Alpha Capital Group community as a whole?
In terms of the community, I'll be honest with you, I'm not within the community or the Discord itself. Reason being is I kind of like to keep myself to myself. Not to say that the community is not worth being in, because I know that there's so many people in there. And if you do like that community aspect, definitely something I would recommend doing, because being around like-minded people will definitely help aid your journey and essentially get you to where you want to be quicker.
Well, as a personal bit of advice from me to you, Jonathan, I would say definitely get yourself in that Discord, because you're missing out on a hell of a lot of discounts and free giveaways from myself. So definitely get yourself in there.
Well, I'll be honest, I've got my own little community as well I run, so it's...
How are you?
Yeah, I do. So I got a little community that I run and got a few people in there, and we're just like-minded people. So I'll definitely take you up on the offer though of the Alpha Capital Discord, definitely.
So what is one thing you would say we need to add to our platform to enhance Alpha Capital Group?
So the one thing that I would say that you need to add to the platform, which I literally think you've just implemented, is on-demand payouts. I think you've literally just done it. That would have
just added it this week. Yep.
There you go. And the reason I say that is because sometimes when you're waiting X amount of time for a payout, it can be very, very difficult. The reason I say that is because you want to take a trade, but you want to secure that payout. So again, it comes into the greed and fear element of sort of trading. What do you do? I mean, if you're up, say, 4 or 5%, you want to take that 4 or 5%. You don't want to risk that any longer. So those on-demand payouts, as long as you've hit the targets, great, happy days.
Amazing. So what does the next 12 months look like for Jonathan? What are your goals?
So the next 12 months, it's going to be a very big, ambitious year, but it's definitely something that I think I can do. I'm going to be a high six-figure funded trader. I definitely want to be in the realms of, say, $500,000 to, say, 600K in terms of funding. And to be honest, I'll be honest with you, live my life on my own terms. Live my life on my own terms, do the things that I want to do, when I want to do them, how I want to do them. So that is what it comes down to. I will do it. It's just going to be a matter of time. But if I can do it, I just want to say to everybody who's watching and listening, you can also do it too. Just put in the hard work, put in the time, put in the graft, you will get there.
Well, Jonathan, your advice today has been absolutely amazing. But before I let you go, what is 3 top tips you give a beginner trader starting out today?
3 top tips. Learn from somebody reputable, somebody that's got a tried and tested strategy. Could be literally anybody within this industry, but look at reviews. Do your due diligence in terms of who you're going to learn from. You can learn by yourself if you really wanted to. There is so much information out there. There's so much content on YouTube, for example, that you could find a strategy like that and try and implement it. But as we said earlier, community is massive. So if you can find a community alongside that, again, you've got that added extra bit of support. I think the second one is learn how to try and master this thing upstairs, the old grey matter. The reason I say that is because anybody can learn technicals, anybody can trade, but not everybody can trade. That is one of the biggest things I always learned, or I learned, was anybody can click buy and sell. It literally doesn't matter. but it's how you manage your emotions whilst you're in that trade. Now, the third one, I think in terms of an additional tip, is just find what works for you. The reason I say that is, like I said earlier, I can't swing trade to save my life. And I'll admit that until the cows come home. I like to be in and out of the market, quick, sharp, nice moves, and we're done for the day. I don't like holding overnight. That's something personal to me. However, it could be completely different to somebody else. Now, for example, like I said earlier, break and retest for me, you can use it on the lower time frames, you can use it on the higher time frames. So it's completely up to you in terms of how you implement that strategy, for example, but find something that works for you and find something that you can gel to and work with.
Honestly, that is some brilliant advice for anyone starting out today. Just from those tips alone, you may have created some profitable traders.
Hopefully, that would be wicked. That would be amazing.
So Jonathan, thank you for joining me today. It's been absolutely amazing to have you on here. You're an absolute asset to Alpha Capital Group, and we are so glad you are one of our funded traders.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been wicked. I've enjoyed my time. And yeah, again, to all the traders, all the best of luck. Work hard and you'll get it.
I wish you all the best with your trading in the future, Jonathan. You have a good day.
Anyway, thank you.